So, have you ever stopped to think about what happens when AI gets it wrong? I mean, not just a little wrong, but fundamentally, troublingly wrong. It turns out, these incredible systems can actually be a mirror, reflecting our own hidden flaws. Okay, let's dive into how AI ends up inheriting our human bias.
Right, let's start with some real-world examples that honestly set the stage for this whole conversation. Because this isn't some abstract theoretical thing. The impact is very, very real. Get this, back in 2018, a major facial recognition system was found to be 5 times more likely to misidentify black faces compared to white ones. 5 times. That's not a small glitch, right? That is a massive failure with really serious consequences for people's lives. And it wasn't a one-off thing. Just a couple of years later, in 2020, a chatbot was designed to learn from just talking to people online. And within hours, it was spewing all sorts of racist and awful stuff. It was just mimicking what it was fed from the unfiltered Wild West of the internet.
So, when you see these kinds of results, the first question that pops into your head is pretty obvious, right? Is the AI itself just broken? Is there some deep flaw in the code that makes it do this?
And the answer, and this is really the key to this whole thing, is no. The algorithm is actually working perfectly. The problem isn't the code, it's the curriculum. It's all about what the AI was taught from day one.
And the fallout from these failures? It's been huge. We've seen cities straight up ban facial recognition. Companies have had to scrap AI hiring tools because they were systematically screening out qualified candidates from minority groups. The whole thing has triggered a massive public backlash and forced a real reckoning in the tech world, with ethics teams popping up everywhere and a huge push for curated, transparent training data.
Okay, so if the algorithm isn't broken, where exactly is the flaw coming from? To get that, we got to look under the hood. We have to look at the data itself.
Here's the core idea. AI learns from us. The gigantic data sets these models are trained on are just packed with our history, our books, our news, our online chatter, and, well, our history includes all of our biases, our stereotypes, and who we've excluded over the years. The AI doesn't know any better. It just sees patterns, and it learns them.
And this leads to a really powerful statement. Database curation is model ethics. What that means is, the ethical heavy lifting, it doesn't happen at the end. It has to happen right at the start, when you're deciding what information goes into the database in the first place.
It really all boils down to this, doesn't it? What you train is what you trust. You simply can't trust what an AI puts out if you can't trust what went in. That biased facial recognition system we talked about, it all started with a data set that was deeply flawed. The quality of that initial training data defines everything that comes after. So, how did we even get to this point? I mean, this problem didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It actually grew out of a major shift in how we train AI, and it's all about the history of the databases they learn from.
You see, in the early days of AI, models were trained on these small, pristine, carefully labeled datasets. But then, the race was on. Everybody wanted bigger, more powerful models, and that led to this huge shift. People started doing what's called web-scale scraping, just hoovering up billions of data points from news sites, forums, social media, you name it. The goal was quantity, not quality. And as a result, these models were built on a vast, unaudited reflection of the internet, warts and all.
So knowing all that, the history, the source of the problem, how do we fix it? How do we actually start designing AI systems that we can genuinely trust?
Well, it comes down to a whole new set of rules for building this stuff. First step, you've got to curate, audit, and document all your training data. You need to know what's in there. Second, you build bias detection right into the process, not as an afterthought. Third, include metadata so you know the source, the context, and hey, even if there was consent. And you need real feedback loops, not just static tests, so the system can keep learning and correcting. But the most important lesson? It connects all of them. AI ethics begins with database design.
Which brings us to a final, really powerful way of thinking about this whole technology. If an AI is trained on our world, then, in a lot of ways, it's basically a mirror. And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. AI models don't just invent bias out of thin air. They don't have opinions. They simply, and very efficiently, learn and amplify the biases that are already swimming around in the data we give them. They inherit it all from us. So here's where it gets really crucial. If we know the AI is a mirror, reflecting our society right back at us, then the question isn't just about building better tech anymore.
The real question we all have to ask ourselves is, what should we show it? What version of ourselves do we want that mirror to reflect?